My dear friends, if you are listening to these words, if your attention has been drawn to this message, let us state this truth clearly at the very outset. It is no accident. There are no accidents in the divine plan. Something within your own being, some deep, restless stirring, a quiet search, a genuine need, a profound desire for change, has magnetically guided you to this precise moment. For as the great law of mind constantly proves, like attracts like, and your sincere yearning for a higher state of existence has resonated with this declaration of truth. And today, I want to plant a spiritual seed in your consciousness that can, and will, transform the entire narrative of your life. The abundance that you have so long and so ardently prayed for, the prosperity, the peace, the fulfillment. I tell you this with the certainty of one who knows the law. It is not merely coming towards you, it is already seeking you out. It is being drawn by the very spiritual vacuum created by your deep desire. It is rushing towards you, even in this very instant, through the vast, invisible channels of universal mind. But there is a great and immutable condition to this divine revelation. You must remain present with this message, with your heart and mind open, until the very conclusion. For only by receiving the whole truth, by allowing it to permeate your consciousness without distraction or mental reservation, will you unlock and turn the invisible key that the Father, Mother God has perfectly prepared for your use. Pause now, make a decisive mental choice. Subscribe to this truth and remain steadfast, for the light we are about to share can be the genuine commencement of a life completely new, a life of perpetual blessing and unshakable inner peace. I want you to hold this fundamental concept firmly in your mind. True prayer is not simply words. It is not a sequence of empty, rote repetitions that dissipate into the indifferent air. To understand prayer correctly is to understand the master key of all existence. Prayer, correctly practiced, is a key. It is the decisive mental and spiritual action that swings open the mighty, yet invisible, doors of supply in the realm of pure spirit. And once those doors are opened by your conscious act of faith, they release into your outer, visible experience that which previously seemed utterly and hopelessly impossible. What flows forth when those doors open? Not just gifts, but manifestations, opportunities, perfectly aligned with your highest good, inexhaustible provision, profound inner peace that defies circumstances, clear divine direction, and the realization of genuine, all-encompassing abundance. The immutable law of the Word all through human history, men and women of authentic faith, not merely those who spoke about faith, but those who lived by the law, have employed this key. Kings, prophets, mystics, and ordinary individuals who, in the midst of their greatest human need, elevated their consciousness and found an immediate, tangible response from the infinite source. Consider the example of David, the shepherd, the poet, the king. David was not merely a composer of beautiful verses, he was a practical metaphysician. He knew, intimately, the profound secret of the creative power of the Word. His psalms were not passive poems designed merely to entertain or console the weary soul. They were potent, affirmative decrees. They were living confessions of truth that possessed the spiritual kinetic energy to move the seemingly immovable mountains of material circumstance in the spiritual realm. And the astonishing, life-altering truth is this even today. Centuries later, those exact same words, those same vibrational frequencies of the soul, continue to vibrate and resonate with the same inexhaustible power. Is it not a marvelous thought that the very phrases pronounced by a king in his deepest moments of solitude, in his fiercest battles, or in his darkest nights of anguish, can reach out to you today with the exact same, undiminished spiritual force? This proves the principle: the word of truth is a seed that never truly dies. It is eternal, non-perishable. Time may pass, generations may change, world civilizations may rise and fall. But the moment that word is taken up again and pronounced with living faith, it germinates anew and perfectly brings forth its destined, abundant fruit. And let me impress this upon you. What you are preparing to receive in the coming moments is not a superficial, quick, fixed magic formula, nor is it some kind of dubious esoteric incantation. It is a divine declaration of principle, derived from the very heart of the universal law, and it works. But here again we return to the condition. It operates only if you receive it with unreserved faith, with an open heart, and with the firm commitment to carry it through to the end. For at the conclusion of this message resides the final, essential key that locks the conviction into your soul. I ask you to take a deep, centering breath right now, for what you are experiencing at this very moment, this sudden attentiveness, this alignment, is no cosmic accident. Every single word you are absorbing has a profound, specific purpose for your life right now. It is precisely what your soul requires to hear. It is irrelevant how you arrived here, whether by fleeting curiosity, a recommendation from a friend, or simply because you were seeking something fundamentally different. Nothing is casual in the perfect, unfolding plan of God, the law of vibration and mental equivalence. The reason prayers function is because they are not merely haphazard phrases. They are carefully focused vibrations, powerful mental currents that ascend directly from the depths of your soul into the eternal principle. The most advanced modern science may speak of energy, of frequencies, of focused thought influencing objective reality. But long before that intellectual explanation existed, the living Word of God had already revealed the mechanism. Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. This is the metaphysical law in its clearest form. What you sincerely and constantly hold in your heart and pronounce with conviction has the intrinsic power to mold and shape your entire life experience. Imagine, for a moment, that your words are, indeed, the most potent of seeds. Every time you enter into a state of true prayer, you are purposefully sowing in the vast, fertile field of the Spirit, which is your own subconscious mind and the universal substrate. The patience of the gardener. Some people, after a few attempts, declare with disappointment, "But I have prayed, and I have not seen any result." And my response is always the same. Does a skilled gardener plant the seed today and then expect to gather the full harvest tomorrow? No, absolutely not. The gardener, working in accordance with the law of growth, performs the necessary actions. He sows the seed. He waters it with patient persistence. He protects it from interference. He waits with full expectation. And then, one day, often when he least suspects it, the seed has mysteriously germinated in the darkness. The shoot has broken the surface, and the perfect fruit is ready for the gathering. That, exactly, is how true prayer operates in the invisible world. Have you ever experienced that feeling, that you pray fervently, yet seemingly nothing happens? Stay with this teaching, because in a few moments you will understand why that apparent silence is not absence. It is, in fact, preparation. The invisible machinery of the universe is working tirelessly on your behalf beneath the surface of the visible world. And remember the condition: you must listen until the absolute end, because the final, decisive word pronounced will be the key that releases the full, flowing current of blessing into your experience. Now reflect on this truth. Every great spiritual tradition has recognized the profound, sustaining power of the Psalms. For every generation, these texts have been a source of refuge and a mighty force field. The monastics of the Middle Ages repeated them day and night in their cloistered cells, absolutely convinced that within those verses lay the concealed secret of inner peace and mental control. The Jewish people recite them to this very day, knowing instinctively that every line carries a palpable vibration that connects the human soul directly with the Creator principle. And millions of sincere believers across the world have witnessed astounding, immediate responses when they take these verses and use them as decrees of life. The psalm we are shortly to meditate upon is no common text. It is a powerful declaration concerning abundance, spiritual stability, and a wealth that is unshakable because its source is divine, not material. The prerequisite wealth in consciousness, but before we immerse ourselves in its truth, your heart must be prepared. For the true, lasting wealth does not originate in your physical bank account or in your external possessions. It begins first and foremost in your mind, in your spirit, and in the unyielding conviction that you are the beloved child of a God of infinite supply, a God who literally knows no limits. Let me share a brief example. I recall a student who once told me she had utterly lost all hope. She was burdened by debt. A severe illness had cast a long shadow over her household. She felt everything was disintegrating. But one day, upon hearing a psalm and repeating it nightly, often through tears, something fundamental began to shift. The change was not instantaneous, but gradually she saw doors of opportunity swing open. New avenues of work appeared. People came forward to assist her unexpectedly. Her health began to fortify itself. And she told me, with a deep smile, "I cannot explain the how, I only know that God used that word to lift me up. This is the power I seek to transmit to you today. The power is not in the speaker, nor is it even dependent on your present circumstances. The power resides in the living word of truth which, when received into your consciousness with pure, unadulterated faith, clears paths where none seem to exist." Faith? the hand that turns the key. We have spoken of the immense power sealed within the Psalms, but there is one central truth that you must grasp with absolute clarity before moving forward. A psalm is not a mere ancient hymn or a comforting piece of poetry. It is a spiritual decree, a conscious vibrational act that unites the human and the divine planes of consciousness. And for this decree to operate and manifest its perfect fruit, there is one non-negotiable, essential requirement: faith. Without faith, the words remain a mere intellectual echo in the outer air. They are inert. With faith, however, the words instantly transmute into the creative energy that shapes your life. The psalm acts as the key, but faith is the hand that must turn the key in the lock. It is insufficient to merely hear it or to repeat it by rote memory. You must welcome its declaration into the very core of your being with the total certainty that what the word declares is already true for you now. That quiet, absolute conviction is the sacred spark that ignites the hidden power in every verse. If you listen with hesitancy or doubt, the door will remain closed to your experience. But if you listen with unconditional trust, you will feel an immediate shift in your being as every word begins its work of manifestation in your visible reality. Therefore, before we proceed to the study and use of Psalm 112, I urge you to prepare your inner temple. Enter a state of expectancy. The practice of anticipatory gratitude. Imagine, for a moment, that your most cherished longing is already a completed fact. If you seek financial restoration, feel the lightness now, the fully provisioned table, the orderly accounts, the profound, restful tranquility. If you desire emotional peace, experience the immediate, powerful sensation of relief, as if your heart is being gently carried and sustained by still, flowing waters. If you seek abundance, feel the rush of the new opportunities swinging open before you. This powerful emotional state is faith in pure, dynamic action. And this is precisely what transforms an ancient spiritual text into a living, vibrant channel of blessing. When you come to pronounce or listen to each line of Psalm 112, you will not do so as one who is begging for something distant and unsure, but as one who is offering profound thanks for something that already belongs to you by divine right. This is the very essence of the master key that activates the law. This is the secret that transmutes an inspiring text into a direct, living, and palpable experience of abundance, peace, and prosperity in your life. My dear friends, having set the profound spiritual foundation, having understood that prayer is a decree and faith is the power that turns the key, the moment has now arrived for the central act of consciousness. I ask you now to prepare your inner temple. Let the world and its insistent clamor fall away. Imagine clearly that you are stepping into a sacred space within your own mind, a sanctuary where no external condition, no worry, no passing human concern can possibly disturb you. Breathe deeply. Allow the air to bring fresh, vital energy into your entire system. Feel every single lingering thought of fear dissolve. Feel every attachment to past limitation dissipate. Visualize the light of abundance, pure, radiant, and inexhaustible, flowing like a mighty. Do not listen to this with the mind of haste. Do not receive it with the reservation of doubt. Understand this. This is a sacred covenant being established between your individual consciousness and the universal source of all good. Every single word of this psalm is impregnated with life. Every line is a spiritual seed that begins to germinate from this very instant within the soil of your spirit. If you choose to close your eyes, do so. But more importantly, feel the absolute certainty in your heart that what this psalm proclaims is already a reality forming in your life. And as you pronounce it, or as you receive it deep within, allow your soul to rest completely in the absolute security that abundance has already arrived and is touching your door. The declaration commences now. Blessed is the man, and blessed is the woman, who trust unreservedly in the law of the Lord, for within their consciousness there is no place for paralyzing fear, but only for absolute certainty and unyielding conviction. Their thoughts are firm, not fleeting, not easily swayed by external opinion or circumstance, but anchored in the immutable truth. Their steps are stable, guided by clear inner direction, and their words, pronounced with faith, become potent seeds of realized prosperity. Great is the one who makes the divine principle his permanent refuge, for they shall witness, as an observable fact, how abundance completely surrounds them like a mantle of radiant light that can never be dissipated or diminished. Wealth and genuine well-being shall perpetually dwell in their house. This is not a fleeting, temporary, or circumstantial well-being that comes today and vanishes tomorrow. It is a constant, steady provision, an inexhaustible, smooth, flowing stream of opportunities that constantly appear, of closed doors that miraculously swing open, and of generous hands that are extended precisely when they are needed most. Just as the sun never fails to rise and dispense its light upon the world each and every morning, so too shall the constant, flowing stream of divine blessings never be halted or diminished over their life's path. The consciousness of the righteous shines forth like a clear lamp in the surrounding darkness. Though the masses around them may sink into the shadows of fear and the illusion of scarcity, the one whose mind is fixed on the truth remains radiantly alight, because they possess the inner knowing that their entire sustenance comes from the highest source. Their heart is not agitated or shaken by the appearance of bad news, because they know with profound certainty that the eternal Spirit sustains them. And while the superficial winds of circumstance change, while the world appears to shake itself into crisis, they remain established in unshakable peace, confident and deeply rooted upon the rock of truth that cannot be moved. God multiplies the work of their hands. What they sow, when it is sown in the spirit of generosity and faith, returns to them in superabundance. What they sincerely give with genuine love is returned multiplied manifold. Whatever they undertake, every endeavor, every project, every creative idea, finds the path immediately cleared and open before it. No seed of their effort is ever lost, because it is always planted in the fertile ground of the divine law, perpetually watered by divine grace, and diligently guarded by the supreme principle of justice that governs the entire cosmos. Their generation, their spiritual and physical descendants, shall be mighty upon the earth. Their children, and the children of their children, shall inherit a path that is clear of debilitating chains, free from the burden of debt, and unmarred by scarcity. They shall be like strong, mature trees planted directly beside the living waters, growing firmly in their truth, yielding their perfect fruit in every season of life. The abundance shall not remain locked solely within the individual. It shall flow forth as a perpetual spiritual inheritance for all succeeding generations. The Lord surrounds their dwelling place with a permanent wall of light. No shadow of lack can penetrate this spiritual shield. No malicious hand, no negative thought form, can touch or compromise that which the infinite principle has sealed and blessed. Their financial supply is blinded by light. Their possessions are protected by the law, and their projects are divinely secured, because what originates from and is nourished by the divine will cannot, by any human or negative force, be destroyed or undermined. When others around them tremble with indecision and uncertainty, the one established in truth remains perfectly serene. When others weaken and collapse under the pressure of external crisis, they grow stronger and more resolute. This is because their true confidence rests neither in chance, nor in luck, nor in the exhausting, isolated effort of their own limited personality, but solely in the eternal providence, the great, overarching law of supply that can never, ever fail. The righteous person distributes their goods with heartfelt generosity, and yet they never lack. They give openly, and yet they always have more than enough. They share freely, and in the very act of sharing, everything multiplies in their hands. This is because their hand is not closed by the small, limited emotion of fear, but is opened wide by the expansive, creative power of faith. And every time they release a blessing, the heavens honor them with greater, flooding abundance. Their memory shall be eternal. They shall not pass through life unnoticed, nor shall their contribution be forgotten, because their very existence is a living testament to the goodness and reliability of God's law. Those who observe their life will see in them a clear reflection of divine grace, and will eventually comprehend that true, lasting wealth is not measured in material currency alone, but in the deep plenitude of a trusting, confident heart. Abundance pursues them as a river that can never run dry. It flows perpetually through all their days with powerful constancy. It navigates through all seasons of life without ceasing. It overcomes all perceived obstacles and clears new, open pathways where confusion once reigned. What seemed utterly impossible becomes immediately possible. What was stubbornly closed is now opened. What was lost is now miraculously restored. This is because the law of the universe conspires completely in favor of the righteous mind that holds the universal principle in reverence and trust. The heart of the righteous remains absolutely firm. They possess no fear of bad news, because their entire trust and reliance does not depend upon the fickle, changeable nature of man or external markets, but upon the stability of the eternal Godhead. Their mind is anchored in the certainty of principle. Their steps are clearly guided by divine wisdom. And though powerful storms may rage, though difficult tests may arise, their life structure does not collapse or tremble, because it is immovably built upon the unbreakable, solid rock of truth. The prosperity of the righteous is not fleeting. It does not vanish with a shifting economy or fade away under the stress of a crisis. It remains, it grows, it perpetually expands. Every single day brings forth some new increase, a clear, inspired idea, an unexpected yet perfect opportunity, a pivotal encounter, a sudden open door. Nothing can truly stop them, because their entire blessing is irrevocably signed and sealed in the heavenly realm. Those who look upon them with envy are consumed by their own inner shadows, because they cannot possibly seize or diminish that which God has delivered through the law. No contrary force can prevail against them. No negative intention to cause harm can ever prosper. The justice of God covers them entirely like a shield of light. The divine radiance protects them like an impenetrable armor. And the celestial favor accompanies their every step, wherever they choose to go. Great is the righteous mind that truly trusts in the principle of the Lord, for their life is a constant, flowing river of blessings. Their home is filled with light, their table overflows with provision, and their heart is constantly established in unassailable peace. Their projects blossom into success, their steps are firm and directed, their name is elevated as a testimony to divine faithfulness. And as they live, as they walk, as they breathe, their very existence powerfully proclaims that God is utterly faithful, and that every single one of his promises, applied through the law, is perfectly and absolutely true. Their house is firmly founded upon the eternal rock. Nothing can tear it down. Nothing can shake it, because its stability does not rely on the instability of the ever-changing outer world, but on the glorious stability of the heavens. Their walls are perpetually surrounded by peace, their every room is filled with provision, and their table shall never be empty. Abundance does not arrive as a brief visitor in their life. It settles in as a permanent, constant guest. They live with the absolute conviction that every single day is a new opportunity to receive, to grow, and to multiply that which the infinite source has entrusted to them. And in that unshakable certainty, there is simply no room for fear of the morrow, because the morrow is already perfectly secured and held safe in the divine hand. Their heart is expansive and generous, and their hand is always open. And for this very reason, they never lack. They give, and they are never impoverished by the act. They help others, and they are never weakened by the expenditure. This is because the law of the Spirit is perfectly clear. What you give out with true love is returned to you multiplied. What you share with unwavering faith is expanded into abundance. The righteous mind has no fear of the shadows, because their life is a beacon of light illuminating the surrounding storm. Their path is guided, their roads are illuminated, and though they may walk for a season through the valley of the shadow, they shall not stumble, because the light of God goes before them to clear the way. Their inner strength is visible to all, and those who once sought to undermine them are eventually compelled to observe their success, for they understand that they contend not against a limited man, but against the full and active backing of God himself. Their victory does not rely on the strength of their human will, but upon the power of grace that sustains them, and that grace is infallible. For generations their spiritual lineage shall be blessed. Their children shall inherit prosperity. Their grandchildren shall walk in the consciousness of abundance, and their name shall be remembered as a living testimony to divine fidelity. What began as a single realization in them shall flow forth like an unstoppable river, touching lives far beyond their own imagination. Thus is the eternal decree fully established. The righteous lives in fulfillment, walks in abundance, rests in peace, and prospers in every undertaking. And their entire life becomes a sustained song of gratitude to the Creator, because everything they possess, everything they achieve, and everything they are flows entirely from the inexhaustible source of the highest heaven. Amen. Thus is the eternal decree fulfilled. The righteous lives in plenitude, walks in abundance, reposes in peace, and prosperity attends every single endeavor. And their entire life is now a resounding song of deep gratitude to the Creator, because everything they have, everything they accomplish, and everything they represent originates directly from the inexhaustible wellspring of the divine. Here concludes the unveiling of the mighty power held within Psalm 112, a fountain of blessings that is now flowing directly and consciously into your life.